Hello and welcome to the Third Sector. I'm your host, Tamara Brinkman. In our society, there are three sectors: the public, the private, and the nonprofit. And it's that third sector that we're here to talk about today. I'm very excited to introduce Susan Miller from Communities in Schools. She is the mentoring coordinator of that program. However, she's going to talk to us about that as well as just community schools in general. And so welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you. Communities in Schools is a big organization that does a lot of amazing work in Wayne County. And so I think it's going to be great for our viewers to get to hear about all of that today, and then get a little bit deeper into more specifically what you do within your role in Communities in Schools. So with that, let's start where I usually always do, which is talk a little bit about the history of Communities in Schools. When did it start in Wayne County, or how long's it been around? So we'll just dive right into it.
Communities in Schools of Wayne County started in 2001, and Communities in Schools is part of a international organization. And in the state of Indiana, it's not in every county. Wayne County is fortunate enough that we started in 2001, and the need is great in this county, and we serve a lot of students every year.
Yes, you definitely do. Tell us a little bit about your guys' just mission.
All right, our mission, and I wrote it down so I don't mess up.
That's
the mission
okay.
of Communities in Schools is to surround students with a community of support, empowering them to stay in school and achieve in life.
Well, that's a great mission to have. So how do you do that? How do you execute your mission?
All right. We have, in every school in Wayne County, there's a site coordinator. And the site coordinator meets with small groups of students or individual students. They identify needs through maybe a teacher might say, Johnny, I've noticed, sleeps in class, or he's saying he's hungry all the time. And so that site coordinator, I kind of think of them as the mom of the school, or grandma, and they take care of basic needs plus tutoring, shoes, clothing. We have a mobile dentist that comes to schools.
Oh, wow.
Vision, if a child needs glasses.
Okay.
And the family can't afford it, we give them a voucher, a VSP voucher for glasses. And that's in every school corporation in Wayne County.
And so if you aren't familiar, and I may get this wrong, so please correct me, we are 5 school districts in Wayne County?
Yes.
So that's elementary schools, that's middle schools, that's your high schools. And so you guys are really seeing, I would imagine, or maybe I should ask it more, what's the gamut of needs that you guys see in terms of the age range that you're serving? I mean, you mentioned some of the high level things you do, but do you see it differently in elementary than middle school than high school, or is it pretty consistent across the ages?
It's interesting. I started at Communities in Schools as the mentor supervisor. I taught school for 35 years in Richmond, and then I was offered this job when I retired, and I did not know the need was so great.
Interesting.
It's opened my eyes, and I've taught for 35 years, like I said.
Isn't that something?
And people don't know. I grew up in Richmond, and you just get in your car, you go to work, you do your thing, and you don't realize the need. But if you really peel back and look at those people walking the streets of Richmond, they have children.
Yeah.
And so those kids come to school, though, and they have needs, and the site coordinator, I buy clothes for students extra small all the way through adult, extra large, or high school age, whatever I need. I go to Goodwills all over. Like just example, yesterday I was in Dayton. They have a really Goodwill. I stopped there because we had needs for leggings. A site coordinator said, I need leggings, I need short sleeve t-shirts, we need shorts. So I go through the Goodwills and I get a senior discount and I load up, take it home, wash it, and then, for instance, this morning I've already been to drop off and gave those site coordinators the clothes they need for the students, so they have those today.
Wow.
And so I get text messages from site coordinators, oh, do you have a size 7 women's sneaker? And thanks to Reed, the Reed Ride, they have supplied us hundreds of sneakers. And it's amazing. You think, well, how many shoes? Well, these students come in. We had several students every year are wearing shoes at least 2 sizes too small.
Oh my.
And they'll say, my feet are happy now because they get new shoes, or they've never had a brand new pair of shoes.
My goodness.
Or they're taped together or glued together. So the shoes, then we have socks. My office is like a mini store. It looks like a shoe store, and then I have clothing in tubs, different sizes. And then we have coats, hats, gloves, scarves, and then toiletries, school supplies, some books, some toys.
Wow.
And then if I don't have it, I get it.
Right.
And we're fortunate enough through donations, I can go out and purchase headphones, earbuds for testing. That's always a big item.
Oh, interesting.
And
Okay.
then we have an Amazon wish list.
Oh, okay.
Which is helpful, and it's kind of like Christmas morning. I'll say, well, they always put the boxes on my desk, and when I come into work, I'm like, oh, someone donated, and it's so exciting. You never know what you're going to open and see, and that has been really great. And I always keep that updated. In the winter, it was coats. Now it's like wide rule composition notebooks. That's a big.
Okay.
It's just interesting how the need shifts. Last year we needed hoodies, sweatshirt hoodies. Constantly I was buying them and looking at Goodwill and ask my neighbors if they have teenagers. And I'll be at church and think, well, they have teenagers. And when you clean out your closet, please think of us. And then they'll bring the clothes to me, and then I get them out to the county and Richmond. And this year the need shifted from hooded sweatshirts to coats. We had more kids, and usually high school kids don't wear coats. They like hoodies.
Yeah, they
I was
seem
like,
to.
what's going on? But people
Switch it
came
up.
through, and
Isn't that amazing?
yes, and Richmond and Wayne County, so generous.
Yeah.
People, if you ask, you usually will get it.
We'll get
It's
stuff.
amazing. It makes me proud that it's my hometown.
Yeah. Well, and the work you're doing, we're fortunate that in your retirement you found this new path to go down, and an extension of almost the work that you spent your whole career doing. You're still in a similar space, but you're helping the kiddos in a very different way. And I think it's just, again, we are fortunate to have folks like you in the community who are doing that. Tell us a little bit about, so you mentioned that a teacher may say Johnny's a little hungry, or doesn't have the shoes that fit, or having some kind of issue. Does a child need to be identified, or does a family need to be identified within the school in order for you to support them? Or say, if they're a site coordinator in the school, I would imagine that kids know who these people are, right? And I know most of them happen to be female that are the site coordinators. Are they all female?
No,
They're
we
just,
have one.
Yeah, we have, okay.
One male.
So, but the majority of them, and what is that, like, how many schools would that be across the 5 districts?
There are 20 schools.
20, okay.
So there are 19 site coordinators. There's one school that's a program, and I'm kind of their site coordinator.
Okay.
To help them
That's
out.
okay, because I almost was like 1 or 2 off with my number on the number of schools. So let's just say they haven't been identified, but just one day in the middle of the school year, it becomes apparent, and they're like, the kid just takes themselves to the site coordinator. Can that happen? Can they
Yes.
sort of walk themselves in the door and
yes.
say, I have needs, and it could be one time or sustainable? How would that
Oh,
be?
yes. It's fluid
Okay.
because they're children. I mean, and you think at a certain age they don't need nurturing or help, but it's interesting through preschool through high school.
Yeah.
And the needs change. Like in high school, the site coordinator might help with college visits or how to fill out college applications.
Okay.
Or what career are you interested in, and guide them, because they might not have a family member at home that's gone through this and the steps that it takes. And there's success stories where that's happened and the child gets a job and they continue in adult life and through the site coordinator guiding them and helping them find what you like to do and the training that's necessary. You need to sign up for this class or this class and you need to keep your grades up. They encourage them. Students might be behind and the site coordinator might take them and say, let's get you caught up on assignments. Some children want to play sports and you have to have a certain GPA.
Okay.
And we want to keep them in school. So we work with those students, help them get caught up on assignments. They belong to a team. They feel more part of the school community and stay in school.
Yeah.
And so, but they can be identified through their teacher. I did that when I taught. When I'd say, well, I think this child needs to meet with you. And the child has to have a permission slip signed by the parent to be on the site coordinator's caseload.
Okay.
And 10% of the schools at least have students on caseloads, every school.
Wow.
At least.
Wow.
And so we serve hundreds of kids every
Right.
year. And then they set goals. The site coordinator sets a goal for the child. It might be attendance. Well, I have alarm clocks down at the office. If the child is responsible for getting themselves up in the morning on their own,
Yeah.
then we get them an alarm clock and how to use it. And then maybe offer an incentive. If you are here every day, then at the end of the day, we'll play a special game or
Right.
that. It's fluid. Every situation is different.
Right.
And it could be attendance. They could be help with academics or social skills, how to get along with people. They might have a small group that the site coordinator pulls kids at lunchtime.
Okay.
And social skills and getting along with others. It's fluid. It
Right.
just changes. There's no set, this is what we do
Right.
every time.
So, with that, how do you become a site coordinator? I mean, what are the qualifications? Because you are quite a catch-all from everything you've just described. So, what's the process, or generally, what's the background of those that are serving in those roles today across the county schools?
Those site coordinators are I just saw almost all of them this morning. We did a food pickup.
Okay.
And they have the joy in their heart. They want to help students. We do a thorough background check and make sure everything's safe. But we're always looking for site coordinators, people who want to help children and families. They help families too with food. If there's a fire, we help direct. We've had homes destroyed in fires, and the site coordinator is almost on call 24/7.
Yeah.
It's just their calling to help people. And they do it, and I just saw them all. They're smiling and go out and help. It's amazing. I don't even think of what I do as a job.
Right.
It's like I just wake up and think, how can I help today?
People today.
And it's the best thing ever because I don't have to grade papers anymore and give tests and all that. So I hit the ground running and go, and
Yeah.
it just brings me joy.
That's really great. So let's talk a little bit about how communities and schools is governed. So in other words, and with that, you could sort of talk about staff. So let's talk about how are you governed? In other words, what guides you guys and how do you get your direction to do what you do? And then let's talk a little bit about, a little more about the staff, because there's more people behind that are helping on communities and schools than just the site coordinators. So.
Okay, we have a board that meets once a month, comprised of 21 members.
Okay.
And out of those 21 members, every school corporation, the superintendent is on our board.
Okay.
So 5 school superintendents plus community members. Then they have separate committees to help with fundraising committee, finance committee, and so forth. And I really kind of stay away from that just because I don't get
It's not
involved with that.
It's
No.
not your day to day, but that is how.
That's how we
Right.
operate. And then we have an executive director, Becky Murray, and she's been with the organization, I believe, at least 9 years. And then Katie Stephen is in charge of the site coordinators.
Got it.
So she helps with data. But since we're a national, international organization, we have to collect data to send to keep our accreditation, to make sure we're following the guidelines of communities and schools. And so thank goodness that's not my job. She keeps track of the data and then helps hire site coordinators, training with site coordinators, and they meet every so many weeks to review data, and she might have people from the community to help. Like, here's someone from Red Cross or such and such. And then we have Sarah Scott is in charge of marketing, communication, and she's also writes grants because we're a nonprofit, so she is a great. We have everyone. We work as a team, and then sometimes if one person can't help out in one way, I can help, I can do this. We just kind of help each other. It's not, we don't just say, I cannot do this.
Right.
Because I started as mentor coordinator, and now I'm in charge of lots of other things, which I like to do.
Right.
But I'm the only one who's part-time. And our bookkeeper, Barbara Judy, is part-time.
Okay.
The other 3 are full-time jobs.
Okay. So how can people who may be watching the show today, if they wanted to get more involved with the organization, what would be a way that they could do that? So that could be your time, that could be financial support, or it could be just wanting to, we'll get into a little bit about the mentor program, but maybe there's, just what might that look like if folks were like, I want to get involved in this, I want to help in some way, I've got some extra time and I want to help kids and families.
Well, they can always contribute financially. That is great, and we're community schools of Wayne County, so that helps tremendously. They can volunteer to, like, for instance, I met with a extension club, the Harrison Extension Club had me, and it's a group of women, and they have taken on projects. Once a month, they collect a different item. Like 1 month, it was toiletries.
Okay.
1 month, they collected sweatpants.
Okay.
Next month. So this month, they're collecting wide rule composition books. It's a group that, and they said, we can't come into the schools to mentor. They're retired, and they're just not able to. How can we help? And I said, this makes an impact.
Yeah.
They drop off items at our office once a month, and it's wonderful because they'll add snacks, and they might add some crayons and colored pencils, and great group of ladies, and they want to help. And then through that, one of the members is a member of the Snappy Sewers that meets in Centerville at the senior center.
Oh, okay.
Well, they made blankets for, I don't know how many they donated, those real nice flannel naughty blankets for our bed in a bag. We have what is called bed in a bags that in our office, there are sleeping bags, pillows, pillowcases, blankets, and then a big air mattress. And if a child is displaced, let's say mom and dad, a medical emergency, or other unfortunate things that happen, and they're now living with grandma. Well, grandma doesn't have extra beds, or they had a fire and they're living in a hotel, but there's not enough space for all of them. Well, then we get together a bed in a bag and put the air mattress, the pump, the sleeping bag, and now they have these wonderful blankets from the Snappy Sewers. They're going to now make pillowcases for us for the pillows. Then I might put in toiletries, a towel, a stuffed animal, just something to help the child, maybe a little book who's displaced. And then we have real nice tote bags that I found, and they are good to go. So that's just some way that's a group wants to help. How can we help? That way, donations of we like to have the financial so we can, because it's always fluid. The need changes so much. We have a partnership with Circle U now that came about, well, when I was hired before COVID, I had, and I'll get back to mentors, probably 75, at least 75 mentors. And then COVID hit, so we couldn't get in the schools, and so then overnight, we started a food bank at Central Methodist Church, allowed us to have food, and people would donate. A farmer would donate eggs, and we had all these food donations. We would box it up and drive with the site coordinators to the homes of our students in need and deliver the food boxes. And that morphed into, we had volunteers that helped us with that. And then once we could get back in the schools, we still needed the food bags. So we had volunteers that met at First English Church. We had an assembly line and make food bags, and then those people would either put the food bags together, some would deliver into all the schools, that's 20 schools, and in the county, and we did that. And then we changed that and didn't need that as much, and I was having food delivered to my house.
Oh my goodness.
And my husband was very understanding. And then one day I saw the executive director from Circle U, Kyle Ingram, and I said, Kyle, I would love to have a truck or use your facility if I had that, because I'm delivering this food and we have volunteers that help, but it's a lot. And he goes, well, let's see what we can do. And Circle U opened the doors, and now the truck, we can pick up the food with their truck or their van. And this morning we had all the site coordinators, they line up in the alley. I have a time slot for county schools, then the Richmond Community Schools come through. They literally load their cars with food.
Wow.
Snacks and food to take back to the schools, to get it into the children, either snacks during the day, food bags on Fridays,
Right.
or if there's sometimes emergencies happen
Right.
where a child there's grandma and she has now 4 kids because mom and dad have an issue, and I've gone to the grocery to get food for grandma or aunt, or we had some kids that were really on their own for a little bit and go to the grocery. They were older, 18, but they were hungry, and
Right.
you can't learn, or hunger is a big issue. So thank goodness for Circle U and that partnership. That's been huge, and that facility is so nice, and so.
Yes, they do have a great facility, and I think, you guys are doing a tremendous job, but that partnership, along with the other groups that you've mentioned who are helping, it's just a wonderful illustration that nonprofits work very, very hard. It's very difficult work. You often don't have, it sounds like you guys have a lot of people, right? It sounds like there's a lot of, we've got all these staff and we have all these site coordinators, but yet you guys are doing so much. And like you mentioned, they can be a 24/7. And when you're a 24/7, that's a lot of commitment from, from folks. And so you have to have that collaboration. You have to have those partnerships that exist because, ultimately everyone's working for that holistic solution to the community needs. Well, let's dive in a little bit to the mentor program, because I don't want to lose sight of that, because that's a very important program. So talk a little bit about what that program is, and how long has it been going on? How does it look today?
Okay, this is our 5th year with the mentor program. When I was hired, that's what I was hired to start, through Communities in Schools. And I encourage people to volunteer. The adult gets more out of it than the child. And our volunteers, usually they meet during lunchtime.
Okay.
They come to the school, they sign in, they've already had background checks.
Right.
I've met with them and do a short orientation, talk to them about what age group they would prefer to work with. And then it's one-on-one. So this child has been selected. Some schools, they have a meeting. If I say, I have a volunteer who wants to mentor at your school, the principal, the teacher, and the site coordinator sometimes meet and say, okay, this is exactly what Sally needs, a mentor. And then we introduce the mentor, and then I have all these little games they can play. And since I taught school, if they need academic help, I can guide that, portion of the meeting. They have 30 minutes
Okay.
once a week. And if they need to miss, they call the school and say, I'm not able to come, I can't come Tuesday, I can come Thursday, as long as we let the child know.
Right.
Because when I taught school, we did have study buddies, which were a wonderful program. And if a child, the day that their study buddy was supposed to come, if the study buddy didn't come, the child was anxious all day. Like,
Yeah.
are they coming? Why? And I said, well, I haven't heard from them. Now we have, this was before cell phones.
Right.
Now the site coordinator and the mentor usually exchange cell phone numbers and contact information so they can call and let the child know, sorry, your mentor can't come today, but they'll be here next week or tomorrow. Right. And the time really goes by fast. And it's, my first mentor was my husband. He was kind enough to be my guinea pig, and he would bring a basketball, and they would finish lunch and go to the gym and shoot baskets, which was fun for the student. They loved that. And then if one child was having a little bit of problem with behavior, he wrote on his letterhead from his business, a real business letter, and I want to see you improve and such, and the child did. Some mentors set goals for the year or for the week, and when they come, like, okay, this week, let's look at your goals. Now, is your behavior leading to accomplishing these goals, or what do we need to do? What do we need to do differently, or instead of this, let's brainstorm for ideas. So it helps guide the student. Okay. It's like having they're not their parent, but just a friend.
Right.
And
a positive influence, somebody that's giving them some caring attention. We're down to about a minute left, but just as we kind of wrap up, what's the impact? What's the difference in a child's life to have a mentor versus not?
Oh, they stay in school.
There we go.
Yes, yet less likely to use drugs. And if you want to be a mentor, please, we need mentors. There's hundreds of kids that still need mentors.
Yeah, for all the needs that these kids have that are in the schools, and a lot of, Susan mentioned, parents are sometimes not able to be participatory in the kid's life for a variety of reasons, and so then you just have the grandparents or somebody else. So if you can do it, please do. That'll take us to the end of today's episode. I want to thank Susan Miller for being here to talk about communities and schools. I'm Tamara Brinkman. Join us next time on The Third Sector.